Andrew Booth is a cornerback who was traded to the Dallas Cowboys in a deal that included cornerback Nahshon Wright. A change in scenery is always beneficial, especially with Booth not making much of an impact for the Vikings. Now he has the opportunity to turn heads with the Cowboys. A long-armed, aggressive athlete who was one of my favorite cornerbacks coming out of Clemson, a former 5-star recruit and a 2-year starter for the Tigers. One of his biggest attributes that I like was his physicality. He covered well in college, but he has shown to have some trouble against NFL wide receivers. It'll be a grind for him, but he needs to lock in and put in that work if he's going to improve. Having veterans like Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland should help Booth improve his game. Mike Zimmer's approach of maintaining a deep quarterback roster is crucial, given the position's demanding nature. There's a chance that Booth will have opportunities to see playing time on the field, so he has to be ready to boogie. So when you're taking a look at Andrew Booth, you're seeing a player who stands at 6 foot and weighs around 195 pounds. He was drafted 42nd overall in the 2022 NFL Draft. His career, however, has been marked by injuries. Booth had a history injury during his college years at Clemson, and his rookie season was cut short by a torn meniscus. This injury required surgery and limited him to just 6 games. In his second year, there were coaching changes, limiting his opportunities to see the field. So on this play here, he's going up against Zay Flowers, and Flowers has molded himself as being one of the more decorated wide receivers at the position. And when you're locking in on Andrew Booth, we need to see how corners can handle both off-man coverage and pressing wide receivers up close. One thing about Booth, he's more effective at making plays on the ball when he's in close proximity to the wide receiver rather than playing off of them. I'm not saying he can't be effective off the ball from time to time, but evaluating this film, he seems to be giving the wide receivers more trouble when he's pressing these guys at the line of scrimmage. So we'll go ahead and run it. So watching this play here, you see that Zay Flowers is trying to get inside leverage. And with the NFL, you will have these wide receivers trying to catch these guys off guard. But when you see a guy like Andrew Booth going out there, riding this guy's hip pocket and giving this wide receiver trouble, and he did ended up catching this ball, but I like to see the effort when it comes down to Andrew Booth, because you will win some and you will lose some. The best cornerbacks have that short-term memory. When you do get beat, how quickly can you recover? And seeing this game against Zay Flowers, those guys was battling it out, but being a corner that has the ability to press wide receivers is always great to see it. Some corners in the NFL, they might can be better at off-man coverage, but then you have some that can be able to press these guys. But I think with guys like Andrew Booth, that is one of his best skill sets on the field. When watching Booth through college, he was one of the better tacklers coming out, and this skill has translated to the NFL. He's one of the guys that takes his contained responsibilities seriously in the run game, being aggressive and getting after the ball carrier. With Mike Zimmer's scheme, you need guys that can be able to hold up on the outside, slowing down these perimeter players, and Booth did exactly that going up against Zeke on his rep. So we'll go ahead and split it. So CeeDee Lamb, he's motioning to the right, and Zeke Elliott gets the ball. And keying in on Andrew Booth, you see that he locked in on Ezekiel Elliott, and he has shown this all throughout college that he has the ability to close in and make tackles. And if he didn't make that tackle, there's a chance that Zeke would have sprung it on this play. So you have to have corners that can go out there and lay the lumber and be physical. And I'm not saying that this guy is a perfect athlete. We will show the plays that he needs to work on. But the thing is, when you have a player that can be physical like this, read and diagnose the run play, sometimes you're that cornerback. You will be that last line of defense. So you have to go out there and do the technique things and get these ball carriers down. And seeing the film that I saw with him in the NFL, he has definitely shown that. And I'm sure that he will bring this to the Dallas Cowboys. And seeing this quick play in college, going up against James Cook, closing in and making the tackle. And a lot of these coaches, Mike Zimmer, a lot of these top defensive coordinators, they need guys that can be physical in their scheme, not only being a guy that can be able to cover, but can you be able to hold your ground in the run game? And Andrew Booth doing this consistently coming out of college. These are the reasons why a lot of coaches in the NFL liked him coming out and why he was top 5 coming out of his position respectfully. One thing I noticed about Andrew Booth is that he can get caught guessing a lot. This happens to many cornerbacks in the league, but you don't want it to be backbreaking for the defense. On this play against Noah Brown, it didn't seem like Booth bit on a fake, but Brown's burst of acceleration showed that Booth wasn't mentally prepared for the stop and go route. Even though Booth wasn't in the worst position, he struggled to keep up with the sudden change of direction. So you got to make sure that you're on top of it at that cornerback position. Details, details, details. So let's run it. So watching Andrew Booth, he's backpedaling. Next thing you know, Noah Brown, he does a stop and go route. And the thing is, if you look at Andrew Booth, it didn't look like he bit for it, But you can see the burst of acceleration from a guy like Noah Brown. And sometimes it can be the little things, cornerbacks overthinking too much. There are a lot of wide receivers in the league. You will see a bunch of stop and go routes, but you have to make sure that you're prepared. If you're in the right position, you got to quickly lock into what's going on and find ways to be able to defend the ball. But with guys like Noah Brown, he's not really the fastest type of wide receiver. He's one of those possession type of guys. And I have seen a lot of clips with Andrew Booth where he was stopping fade routes, he was stopping stop and go routes, but you got to make sure that you can do it on a consistent basis. But you have to make sure that you can be consistent in stopping these plays, because if you're giving up these type of reps, it can be able to open up the whole playbook. So you don't want things like this to happen. So using your eyes, making sure that you're positioned well and not overthinking is critical if he's going to be able to have some success for the Cowboys. Here's a play of Booth in off coverage. In my opinion, this is where he gave up his most plays. I'm not saying that he doesn't have solid plays when he's playing off of wide receivers, but it does seem like when he was off, giving these guys too much cushion, they were able to complete their routes and get chunk yards. Hopefully Mike Zimmer can get this guy in the right position and play to his strengths. So let's run it. So watching this play here, you see Gabe Davis. He's trying to get to the top of his route, but when you see Andrew Booth, he opens up his hips too early and he opens them up the wrong way. And sometimes that can be the advantage for the wide receiver, because once he opens up his hips the wrong way, you completely lose leverage. And I've seen this not only in college, but in the NFL as well. He didn't have too much play time in his first couple of years with Minnesota, but studying these plays, whenever he's in off coverage, sometimes he can overthink, flip his hips a certain kind of way. Next thing you know, these wide receivers are going the opposite way and it becomes a big time first down. And this is a game where he got in and replaced a cornerback that was starting. He ended up getting injured. That's the only reason why Andrew Booth saw the field, but he ended up getting benched because he made mistakes against Gabe Davis as well as Stephon Diggs. In the following game, he started against the Dallas Cowboys and he was getting cooked that game as well. He does make some good plays, but we have to keep it 100% authentic and let y'all know what this player is about. There are things that he needs to work on, but planning off coverage, he's going to have to get his game up when it comes down to that, and understanding positioning and having a better idea of what these wide receivers are trying to do. Here's a rep here of Booth going up against Stephon Diggs. One thing about Diggs, he's playing chess out there while these other corners are playing checkers. He has a knack for being able to break down defensive backs and putting them in the blender. In the NFL, you'll see a lot of receivers running heavy crossover routes, heavy slants, running routes, and trying to make these cornerbacks confused. Diggs is really good at this, so being patient is key. If he's patient, this gives him a better chance of defending the play. So we're going to run it. So zooming in on Andrew Booth and Stephon Diggs. One thing about Diggs, he's really smooth like a CD Lamb. You can see the footwork. So when you're pressing a guy, you have to be very patient. And seeing that plant foot right there, that's how he was able to gain separation. So making sure that you're not biting into these guys' hezzy fakes, because a lot of these times they want to put you in the right position where they can be able to separate from you. And this is pretty much the type of movements he's going to see. So being a guy that can be able to lock in and focus is going to be big time. And just because you were good at Clemson, it doesn't mean that you can be able to do it in the NFL. You got to go out there and prove it, because there are a lot of cornerbacks that were very, very good in college and they ended up mopping out once they got to the big leagues. But he has shown some good things, but consistency is key. And I'm not going to sit here and just gas these players and just show all the good plays. We got to see why this guy was not starting. Because if you're a second round pick, you were 42nd overall. In 2023, he actually played in 10 games. He had 151 total snaps. He was targeted 8 times and he only gave up 4 receptions with 30 yards allowed and 0 missed tackles. So he has gotten better. He didn't crack the starting lineup in Minnesota other than these 2 games that I'm showing. So seeing him in 2023, only giving up 30 yards for that season, not the starter, but you can tell that this guy's progressing. Here's a rep where Booth was playing press coverage. The wide receiver tries to bait him by planting with his left foot, but Booth doesn't fall for it. It was a quick fade on the play and Booth read it well. He stayed square with the wide receiver, forcing him to the outside. Booth's footwork is excellent throughout the play, and this is what Mike Zimmer wants when it comes down to his cornerbacks, being physical and dissecting the wide receiver. So we're going to spin it. So watching this wide receiver, he jukes to the left. And the good thing about Booth, he didn't fall for it. You will see on film sometimes he doesn't fall for it, and sometimes these wide receivers can catch him off guard. But looking at him being able to shield this wide receiver, forcing an incomplete pass, I like to see these type of plays, Cowboys Nation. The thing is, going up against these guys in the NFL versus college, you will see guys at that wide receiver position with all world talent. But being a cornerback in the NFL that's over 6 foot, you weigh close to 200 pounds, you have a knack for being physical, and you have shown on certain reps that you can use your eyes well, be patient. If this guy can be able to lock in with the Dallas Cowboys, we might have something in this player. So it'll be a tough hill to climb when it comes down to a guy like Andrew Booth. There are a ton of people that are sleeping on this guy, but he's going to have to go out there and stamp it and prove the doubters wrong. So in this final rep here, you will see from time to time Booth locking in and shutting down seam routes and fade routes. He has the speed to cover ground effectively when he anticipates the receiver's intentions, and this was good to see from Andrew Booth. So we'll go ahead and run it. So watching this play here, he's in off coverage, and he's saying that wide receiver's trying to go for that fade route. You will see the long speed. He's a long striding type of cornerback. And if he can be able to read a play and know what that wide receiver is doing beforehand, he has enough speed to be able to keep up with these guys. So certain plays in off coverage, he has shown some good things, more bad than good as far as being off ball from what I've seen. When he's close to a guy, he likes to press him. He has played that press bail type of technique when he was with Clemson. So it's going to be good to see how this guy pans out. And it starts off with training camp and the preseason. So with Andrew Booth, he has had a journey so far in his career. He was a dominant player coming out of Clemson, and it has not been that good starting out with Minnesota. But change is always good, Cowboys Nation, and this can be that step to get him into the right direction. But having Trayvon Diggs, you got Deron Bland, you got Al Harris, a lot of these guys that have a good understanding of what Mike Zimmer wants out of this scheme, he's going to have to come in here and be a sponge. But being a physical corner and having the ability to tackle well, get your hands on these wide receivers, that's always great to see from this player. There is work to do, but we wanted to come in here and show y'all some of his good plays and his bad plays, so we won't overhype this guy. So let's see if this guy has that grit to come out here in training camp and the preseason and make some big time plays. So comment below and let me know what you guys think about Andrew Booth, and if you guys think that this guy can be able to come in here and help this team. So make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because the way the YouTube algorithm works, if you don't hit it, you'll miss on fire live streams and the best Cowboys film sessions on YouTube. All right, Cowboys Nation. Talk to y'all soon. Gone.